Hi there. I still remember that evening vividly. The room was packed, the air crackling with anticipation as Rachel took the stage. Her presence was magnetic, commanding the attention of everyone in the audience. I sat in the back, pride swelling in my chest as I watched my wife deliver a speech on public speaking with an elegance and conviction that left me in awe. Rachel had always been passionate about oratory, but this was different. It was as if she had discovered a new facet of herself, one that was confident and captivating. The audience's rapt attention only underscored her transformation. But it was not just her performance that caught my eye. It was the way Mark, the workshop's lead trainer, watched her. His gaze was fixed on her with an intensity that was hard to ignore. In the weeks following the seminar, Rachel seemed more alive than ever. She spoke frequently about Mark, her voice laced with admiration. She was enamored with his teaching style and his approach to rhetoric, praising him at every opportunity. I supported her enthusiasm wholeheartedly, convinced that this newfound passion would benefit her career. Soon, Rachel started attending additional one-on-one sessions with Mark. Initially, it seemed like a great opportunity for her to refine her skills. I encouraged her to make the most of it, believing it would be a valuable investment in her professional growth. Yet, as the weeks went by, I noticed changes in her behavior. She was often exhausted and distant, her mind seemingly preoccupied, even when she was home. One night, Rachel arrived home later than usual. She said they had been working late on a new program for the workshop. I brushed off the uneasy feeling that crept over me. It was not uncommon for her to stay late, but this time, there was something different about the way she spoke, almost as if she was trying too hard to sound casual. My doubts grew stronger when I found her phone lying unattended on the kitchen counter. Out of curiosity and concern, I glanced through her messages. What I found made my heart sink. There were numerous exchanges between Rachel and Mark, filled with personal and intimate language. It was clear that their relationship had crossed professional boundaries. Confronting Rachel was the hardest thing I've ever done. I asked her directly if there was something more between her and Mark. At first, she denied it, but as I pressed her, she reluctantly admitted that their relationship had indeed become more than just a professional one. The revelation was a punch to the gut. I felt betrayed and heartbroken. How could the woman I loved, who had been my partner for 10 years, be involved in such a betrayal? In the days that followed, we tried to have honest conversations about our future. Rachel was conflicted, torn between the feelings she had developed for Mark and her commitment to our marriage. It was a painful, messy situation, and neither of us knew how to navigate it. We decided to seek help from a family therapist. We hoped that through therapy, we could understand the reasons behind Rachel's actions and find a path forward. The sessions were emotionally draining, but they were also a chance to address the underlying issues in our relationship. Rachel's revelation and the subsequent therapy sessions forced us both to confront uncomfortable truths. I learned that Rachel had been feeling unappreciated and lonely, emotions she had kept buried beneath a facade of normalcy. As the weeks passed, we decided to take a break from each other. I moved in with a friend, giving Rachel the space she needed to reflect on what she wanted. This time apart was excruciating, but it was also a period of intense self-reflection for me. Then, unexpectedly, Rachel called. She had ended her relationship with Mark and realized she wanted to work on our marriage. Her sincerity was evident, and I could see that she was genuinely committed to rebuilding what we had lost. We resumed therapy with a renewed sense of purpose. It was not an easy journey, but we both knew that if we wanted to salvage our marriage, we had to put in the effort. The road to healing was long and fraught with challenges, but we were determined to find our way back to each other. This is where our story begins, a story of betrayal, heartache, and the arduous path to redemption. Rachel's transformation was nothing short of astonishing. Every day, she seemed more invigorated and enthusiastic about her public speaking. It was as if she had found a new calling, and she couldn't stop talking about it. I had never seen her so animated or passionate about anything before, and it was both thrilling and unsettling to witness. Her newfound excitement revolved around Mark. She would come home after each session practically glowing, her face alight with admiration as she recounted the latest lesson or insight. It was clear that Mark had made a significant impact on her, but as much as I tried to be supportive, I couldn't ignore a growing sense of unease. Rachel began spending more and more time with Mark, attending extra workshops and one-on-one sessions that extended well beyond the typical hours. I initially thought nothing of it. After all, she was simply committed to improving her skills. But as the frequency of these sessions increased, so did the distance between us. Rachel was often exhausted and preoccupied, and our evenings together became sporadic. One evening, as I was tidying up the living room, I found Rachel's phone lying on the coffee table. Out of curiosity, I picked it up and saw a series of text messages between her and Mark. Their conversations were filled with encouragement and inside jokes, but what stood out were the messages that seemed overly personal. Rachel had shared thoughts and feelings with Mark that she had never expressed to me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Despite my best efforts to trust Rachel, the nature of her interactions with Mark made me question the boundaries of their relationship. Every time she mentioned his name, there was a noticeable shift in her tone, a hint of something I couldn't quite place. When I confronted Rachel about my concerns, she reassured me that it was all purely professional. She insisted that Mark was just a mentor, helping her hone her skills, and nothing more. Her assurances, however, did little to quell the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach. I wanted to believe her, but the more I observed, the more I doubted. Rachel's increasing obsession with Mark's methods and his validation made me question whether she was using him as an escape from our mundane routine. It wasn't just about her career anymore. It was about something deeper and more personal. I could sense that her connection with Mark had become a crucial part of her life, and it seemed to be filling a void that I hadn't realized was there. In an effort to understand her better, I started paying closer attention to her behavior and interactions with Mark. I noticed that she was becoming more secretive and less transparent about her whereabouts. It wasn't just the long hours she spent away. It was the little things, the changes in her demeanor and the way she seemed to retreat into herself when I asked about her sessions with Mark. As the weeks went by, Rachel's obsession with her public speaking journey and with Mark only intensified. She talked about him constantly, sharing every detail of their sessions and expressing how much she admired him. I wanted to be supportive, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing her to something or someone else. The growing chasm between us was becoming impossible to ignore. The more Rachel immersed herself in her sessions with Mark, the more distant she became. And as I watched her transformation, I couldn't help but wonder if the passion that had once ignited our marriage had now become the source of its unraveling. The days stretched on, and the unease in our relationship grew more palpable. Rachel's obsession with her public speaking sessions continued to consume her, and our time together became increasingly sparse. I tried to be patient, but the mounting evidence suggested that her relationship with Mark was evolving into something more than professional admiration. One evening, after Rachel had once again come home late from a session with Mark, I found myself unable to ignore my growing concern. Her excuses seemed less convincing each time, and the distance between us was widening. I decided to take a closer look at her phone, hoping to find answers to the questions that plagued my mind. Rachel's phone was resting on the kitchen counter, and for a moment, I hesitated. I knew it was a breach of trust, but the nagging doubts in my mind were too overwhelming to ignore. With a deep breath, I picked up her phone and scrolled through her recent messages. The first few texts seemed innocuous enough, updates about their sessions and praise for Rachel's progress. But as I dug deeper, I found messages that were increasingly intimate and personal. They weren't just about work. They were about feelings, emotions, and moments that should have been reserved for someone else. One message stood out particularly vividly. It was a late-night exchange between Rachel and Mark, where she expressed her frustration about a recent challenge she had faced, and Mark responded with a level of empathy and encouragement that seemed to go beyond mere professional support. There was a familiarity and closeness in their conversation that felt deeply unsettling. My heart pounded as I continued reading. Rachel had confided in Mark about feelings of loneliness and dissatisfaction, emotions she had never shared with me. Mark's responses were reassuring and supportive, but they also carried a tone of intimacy that crossed a line. The more I read, the more I felt like an intruder into a private world that was not meant for me. The discovery was devastating. It wasn't just the content of the messages, but the realization that Rachel had sought solace and understanding from someone else. I felt a wave of betrayal wash over me, mingled with a profound sense of sadness. The trust that had been the cornerstone of our relationship seemed to have been shattered. When Rachel arrived home that night, I confronted her. My voice trembled as I asked her to explain the nature of her relationship with Mark. She looked shocked and hurt, but I could see the conflict in her eyes. She initially tried to deny any wrongdoing, but as I presented the evidence I had found, her defenses crumbled. Rachel admitted that her feelings for Mark had grown beyond professional admiration. She had become emotionally involved with him, seeking comfort and validation in a way that had crossed the boundaries of our marriage. Her confession was painful and difficult to hear, but it was also a necessary step toward understanding the depth of the issue. We sat in silence for a while, the weight of the situation hanging heavily between us. Rachel was visibly distressed, her eyes filled with tears as she struggled to explain her actions. I felt a mixture of anger, hurt, and confusion. How had we reached this point? What had driven her to seek comfort outside our marriage? Rachel tried to justify her actions by explaining the emotional void she had felt in our relationship. She spoke of her struggles with feeling unappreciated and disconnected, but her words did little to ease the pain I felt. The realization that our marriage had been overshadowed by someone else's influence was a bitter pill to swallow. As the conversation drew to a close, we both knew that our relationship had reached a critical juncture. The trust between us had been broken, and the path forward seemed uncertain. We were faced with a choice: whether to confront the issues head-on and work through the pain, or to let the damage fester and potentially drive us further apart. Rachel's confession was a turning point, but it was also just the beginning of a long and challenging journey. The road ahead would require honesty, forgiveness, and a willingness to confront the underlying issues that had led to this painful chapter in our lives. The days following Rachel's confession were some of the hardest I've ever faced. The weight of the betrayal hung heavily over us, casting a shadow over every interaction and moment of silence. We were both emotionally exhausted, grappling with the painful reality of what had transpired. We decided to seek help from a family therapist, hoping that professional guidance might help us navigate the turmoil and find a path forward. The decision wasn't easy. Admitting that we needed outside help was a blow to our pride, but the gravity of the situation demanded that we confront the issues with honesty and a willingness to heal. Our first session with the therapist was both eye-opening and distressing. We sat in a small, neutral office, the atmosphere charged with a mix of tension and hope. Dr. Roberts, our therapist, began by asking us to share our perspectives on the situation. Rachel spoke first, her voice shaky as she described her feelings of loneliness and the allure of Mark's support. She expressed regret and a deep sense of guilt for her actions, acknowledging the harm they had caused. I listened in silence, my emotions a tumultuous blend of anger, sadness, and confusion. As Rachel spoke, I struggled to reconcile the image of the woman I had loved and trusted with the reality of her betrayal. The therapist's questions were probing, designed to help us uncover the underlying issues in our relationship. Each question felt like a painful excavation of the problems we had tried to ignore. Dr. Roberts guided us through an exploration of our emotional needs and communication patterns. We discussed the moments when we had drifted apart, the ways we had failed to connect with each other on a deeper level. Rachel admitted that she had felt unappreciated and neglected, but I was also forced to confront my own shortcomings in our marriage. I realized that I had been so focused on my work and daily responsibilities that I had neglected the emotional needs of my partner. The sessions were emotionally draining, but they also provided a glimmer of understanding. Dr. Roberts helped us see that while Rachel's actions were inexcusable, they were also symptomatic of deeper issues in our relationship. The therapy sessions became a mirror reflecting our faults and the gaps that had formed between us over time. As we continued with the therapy, it became clear that rebuilding trust would be an arduous process. We had to learn how to communicate more openly and honestly, to express our needs and feelings without fear of judgment or rejection. The sessions forced us to confront uncomfortable truths and to face the reality of our situation head-on. Despite the pain, there were moments of breakthrough. Rachel began to understand the impact of her actions on our relationship, and I started to see the ways in which I had contributed to our disconnect. We both recognized that healing would require more than just words. It would require consistent effort and a commitment to change. The road to recovery was fraught with challenges. Trust, once broken, was not easily mended. We faced setbacks and relapses, moments when old wounds were reopened and emotions flared. But through it all, we remained determined to work through the issues and to rebuild what had been lost. Our journey through therapy was not just about addressing the immediate damage, but also about laying the foundation for a stronger, more resilient relationship. We had to learn to navigate our emotions, to support each other in new ways, and to rebuild the trust that had been so deeply compromised. As we progressed through the therapy sessions, we began to see a glimmer of hope. The process was slow and painful, but it also offered the possibility of renewal. We both knew that our marriage was worth fighting for, and that the path to healing, while difficult, was one we were committed to walking together. The decision to take a break from each other was not made lightly. The emotional strain of the past few weeks had taken its toll, and despite our efforts in therapy, it became clear that we needed space to gain perspective and heal individually. It was a difficult choice, but one we felt was necessary for both of us to confront our feelings and assess our future. I moved in with a close friend, Alex, who had graciously offered me a place to stay. The transition was jarring. The familiar comfort of home was replaced by a sense of displacement and solitude. Alex's apartment was small, but it provided a much-needed sanctuary where I could reflect on everything that had happened. During this time apart, I found myself oscillating between anger and profound sadness. The betrayal Rachel had inflicted upon our marriage was still fresh, and the trust we had built over a decade seemed irreparably damaged. I questioned whether our relationship could survive this breach and if reconciliation was even possible. The solitude allowed me to process my emotions more deeply. I spent hours thinking about the core issues that had led to our current situation. I realized that while Rachel's actions were a major breach of trust, they were also a symptom of deeper problems in our relationship. Our connection had weakened over time, and we had both failed to address the underlying issues. In the quiet of Alex's apartment, I began to reflect on the dynamics of our marriage. I thought about the ways I had contributed to Rachel's feelings of isolation and neglect. My preoccupation with work and daily responsibilities had created an emotional void that Rachel had sought to fill elsewhere. It was a painful realization, but it was crucial for understanding the full scope of the problem. Rachel, too, was using this time to reflect on her own actions and their consequences. We both had been given the space to confront our individual faults and to consider what we truly wanted from our relationship. For Rachel, it was a period of deep self-examination, where she grappled with feelings of guilt and remorse. She was also trying to understand why she had turned to Mark and how to address the emotional void she had been experiencing. Throughout this separation, we maintained limited contact. We exchanged occasional texts and phone calls, primarily to check in and discuss practical matters. The distance helped us gain perspective, but it also highlighted the emotional chasm that had developed between us. During this period, we both sought individual counseling in addition to our couples therapy. It was essential for us to work on our personal growth and to address the emotional wounds that had led to the breakdown of our marriage. The individual sessions provided a space for us to explore our feelings and to develop strategies for coping with the pain and uncertainty. The time apart was not just about healing, it was also about making a decision. We had to determine whether we were willing to continue fighting for our marriage, or if it was time to let go. The separation offered a clearer perspective on our relationship's viability and whether we could truly rebuild the trust that had been shattered. As the weeks passed, both Rachel and I began to see glimmers of clarity. We started to understand what was truly at stake and whether we were willing to put in the effort required to restore our marriage. The decision was far from easy, but the separation provided the space needed to make an informed choice about our future together. We both knew that the path forward would not be straightforward. Whether we decided to reconcile or to part ways, it would require a great deal of introspection, communication, and effort. The separation was a critical step in understanding ourselves and each other, and it was a necessary part of the journey toward either healing or closure. The separation was meant to provide clarity, but as time went on, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. I was struggling to find a sense of normalcy in Alex's small apartment, and the loneliness was often overwhelming. Despite my best efforts to stay focused on self-improvement and personal growth, my thoughts frequently wandered back to Rachel and the state of our marriage. One crisp autumn afternoon, as I was sitting in Alex's living room with a book in hand, my phone rang. It was Rachel. Her voice, when she spoke, was tinged with an urgency that immediately piqued my concern. She asked if we could talk in person, and I could sense that this conversation would be pivotal. We agreed to meet at a cafe near my friend's apartment. When I arrived, Rachel was already there, sitting at a corner table with a nervous expression. Her face, usually so animated, was now marked by a mixture of anxiety and determination. As we settled into our seats, Rachel took a deep breath before speaking. She explained that she had taken the time apart to seriously reflect on her actions and our relationship. She had ended her involvement with Mark, recognizing that their relationship had been a misguided attempt to fill a void rather than a solution to our problems. She spoke with a level of honesty and self-awareness that I hadn't seen in her before. Rachel's voice wavered as she told me about the clarity she had gained during our separation. She had come to understand that her actions, though deeply hurtful, were driven by her own unresolved issues and feelings of inadequacy. She admitted that she had been using Mark as an escape, seeking validation that she felt was missing from our marriage. I listened intently, my emotions a mix of hope and skepticism. Rachel's words were heartfelt, and it was clear that she had done some serious soul-searching. However, the pain of betrayal was still fresh, and I struggled to reconcile her newfound insight with the hurt she had caused. Rachel continued, expressing her deep remorse and asking for a chance to work on our relationship. She wanted to rebuild the trust that had been shattered and was committed to making amends. Her sincerity was evident, and she was willing to do whatever it took to repair the damage and restore our bond. As she spoke, I felt a glimmer of hope. The time apart had given me space to process my own feelings and to gain perspective on our marriage. I was beginning to see that, while the betrayal had been devastating, there was an opportunity for growth and healing if we both committed to it. Rachel also mentioned that she had been attending individual counseling to address her emotional struggles and to gain a better understanding of herself. She was working on developing healthier coping mechanisms and was determined to address the issues that had contributed to her actions. We both knew that reconciling would not be easy. Trust, once broken, would take time to rebuild, and the road to healing would be long and challenging. But Rachel's willingness to face her own faults and work towards change was a positive step forward. After our conversation, we decided to continue with therapy, both as individuals and as a couple. We knew that the journey ahead would require continued effort and commitment, but we were both open to the possibility of rebuilding our marriage. The unexpected call from Rachel marked a turning point in our separation. It was a moment of reckoning and a chance to reassess our future together. While the path to reconciliation was still uncertain, the conversation offered a glimmer of hope and a renewed sense of possibility for our relationship. With Rachel's sincere commitment to repairing our relationship and my own renewed sense of hope, we both understood that rebuilding our marriage would require more than just words. It would demand consistent effort, openness, and patience. We were determined to make this work, but we knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. Our next step was to resume therapy together, with a focus on addressing the deep-seated issues that had led to the breakdown of our trust. Dr. Roberts, our therapist, continued to guide us through this process, helping us navigate the complexities of our emotions and the practical steps needed for healing. The sessions were emotionally intense. We were forced to confront our vulnerabilities and the ways in which we had failed each other. Rachel spoke openly about the emotional void she had felt and her reasons for seeking validation from Mark. Her honesty was both painful and necessary for our progress. I, too, had to grapple with my own shortcomings. I acknowledged that my focus on work and everyday responsibilities had created a distance between us. I had neglected to address Rachel's emotional needs and had failed to recognize the signs of her growing dissatisfaction. Therapy provided a platform for us to communicate more effectively and to understand each other's perspectives. One of the key aspects of our therapy was learning to rebuild trust. Dr. Roberts emphasized the importance of transparency and accountability. We set specific goals for our relationship, such as regular check-ins and open discussions about our feelings and concerns. These practices were designed to help us stay connected and to prevent misunderstandings from escalating. In addition to therapy, Rachel and I began to engage in activities that would help strengthen our bond. We started setting aside time for each other, focusing on reconnecting and rebuilding our relationship outside of the therapy room. We went on regular dates, took weekend trips, and engaged in activities that we both enjoyed. These moments were crucial for rekindling our emotional connection and rediscovering the aspects of our relationship that had once brought us joy. We also worked on developing new communication skills. We practiced active listening, making a conscious effort to understand each other's perspectives without judgment or defensiveness. This was a significant shift from our previous interactions, where miscommunications and assumptions had often led to conflicts. As we continued to work through our issues, we encountered setbacks and moments of frustration. There were days when the pain felt overwhelming, and it was challenging to stay committed to the process. But through it all, we remained dedicated to our goal of rebuilding our relationship. One breakthrough came when we successfully navigated a particularly difficult conversation about our future. We had been struggling with the question of whether we were truly ready to move forward together or if we needed more time apart. By discussing our fears and desires openly, we were able to come to a mutual understanding and make a decision that felt right for both of us. The process of rebuilding our marriage was far from linear. It required us to be patient and to approach each challenge with empathy and understanding. We learned that healing takes time and that it's important to celebrate the small victories along the way. Rachel's commitment to change and my own efforts to address my shortcomings were critical in moving us toward a healthier relationship. We both understood that trust could not be restored overnight, but we were willing to put in the work required to get there. As we progressed, we began to see the fruits of our labor. Our connection deepened, and we started to feel more hopeful about our future together. The journey was far from over, but the steps we were taking were moving us in the right direction. The path to reconciliation was a testament to our willingness to confront our issues and to work through the pain. It was a journey of rediscovery, growth, and renewed commitment to each other. While the future remained uncertain, we were determined to face it together, armed with the lessons we had learned and the love that still bound us. As Rachel and I continued our journey through therapy and personal growth, we both understood that rebuilding our relationship also meant addressing the external consequences of her affair with Mark. The impact of her actions had extended beyond our personal lives, affecting both of our social circles and professional environments. One evening, as we were preparing dinner together, Rachel received a call from a mutual friend, Jessica. The conversation was brief, but laden with tension. After hanging up, Rachel looked visibly distressed. She explained that Jessica had heard about the affair through a mutual acquaintance and wanted to know if it was true. Rachel and I knew that the situation required transparency. We had been trying to protect our privacy, but the reality was that our personal issues had become a topic of discussion among our friends. The situation was uncomfortable, but we both agreed that addressing it openly was the right thing to do. The next day, we arranged to meet Jessica in person. The conversation was difficult, but Rachel took responsibility for her actions and provided an honest account of what had happened. Jessica listened intently, her expression a mix of concern and sympathy. Jessica's reaction was a mix of shock and understanding. She expressed her disappointment but also offered support. It was clear that the news had affected her deeply, and Rachel's willingness to face the situation head-on was a step toward repairing the damage to our social circle. Dealing with the fallout extended beyond our personal relationships. Rachel's affair had also had repercussions in her professional life. Mark, who had been an influential figure in her public speaking career, had also been a part of her professional network. His role in her life had been significant, and the end of their relationship created ripples in the professional sphere. Rachel decided to address the situation directly with her colleagues. She scheduled a meeting with her team and explained the circumstances surrounding her affair with Mark. She was honest about the personal challenges she had faced and the impact of her actions. The meeting was difficult, but Rachel's openness helped to restore some level of trust among her colleagues. The professional fallout also included dealing with Mark himself. Rachel reached out to him to end their association formally and to address any remaining issues. The conversation was tense, but it was necessary for both of them to move on. Mark was initially resentful, but he eventually accepted that their relationship needed to end definitively. Throughout this period, Rachel and I also had to navigate the changes in our social circles. Friends and family had questions, and we had to manage the conversations with sensitivity. It was important to maintain our privacy while also being honest about our situation. This balance was challenging, but crucial for maintaining our dignity and for managing the external pressures we faced. The process of facing the consequences of Rachel's actions was a sobering reminder of the broader impact of personal decisions. It was a period of reckoning, not just for our relationship, but for the various aspects of our lives that had been touched by the affair. Despite the difficulties, the process of addressing these consequences also became a part of our healing journey. It forced us to confront the reality of our situation and to take responsibility for the impact of our actions. This accountability was an essential part of rebuilding trust and moving forward. As we worked through these challenges, Rachel and I found solace in each other's commitment to repairing our relationship. We faced the consequences together, and each step we took toward addressing the fallout was also a step toward rebuilding our bond. The journey was far from over, but by confronting the external repercussions of Rachel's affair, we were making strides toward healing and renewal. The road ahead was still uncertain, but our willingness to face the truth and take responsibility for our actions was an important step in reclaiming our lives and our relationship. As we continued to navigate the aftermath of Rachel's affair, the focus of our efforts shifted towards rebuilding trust. Trust, once shattered, is notoriously difficult to restore, and we both knew that it would be a central part of our healing process. It required more than just apologies and promises. It demanded consistent actions and a renewed commitment to our relationship. Our therapy sessions with Dr. Roberts played a crucial role in this phase of our journey. Rebuilding trust involved a series of steps, and Dr. Roberts helped us structure this process. We started with small, actionable goals designed to create a foundation of reliability and transparency. One of the key strategies was to increase transparency in our daily lives. Rachel and I agreed to share our schedules and be open about our whereabouts. This was a significant shift from the previous secrecy that had characterized our interactions. While it felt invasive at times, it was a necessary measure to rebuild the trust that had been eroded. We also implemented regular check-ins to discuss our feelings and any concerns that might arise. These check-ins became a safe space for us to express our thoughts and emotions without judgment. It was a way to ensure that we were both on the same page and to address any issues before they escalated. Another important aspect of rebuilding trust was demonstrating commitment through consistent actions. Rachel made a conscious effort to show through her behavior that she was dedicated to repairing our relationship. This included being more attentive, reliable, and engaged in our daily interactions. Her efforts were not just about grand gestures, but also about the small, everyday actions that showed she was committed to change. For my part, I worked on addressing my own issues and being more present in our relationship. I focused on being more communicative and supportive, making an effort to understand Rachel's perspective and to address her needs more effectively. This was a challenging but necessary adjustment, as it required me to confront my own shortcomings and to actively work on improving our connection. Building trust also involved setting boundaries and establishing new norms for our relationship. We had to redefine our expectations and ensure that we both understood and agreed on the terms of our renewed commitment. This included setting boundaries with others and being clear about what was acceptable in terms of interactions and behavior. Our efforts to rebuild trust extended beyond our personal interactions. We also sought to address the impact of the affair on our social circle and our professional lives. By being open and honest with our friends and colleagues, we worked to restore our reputation and to demonstrate our commitment to moving forward positively. The process of rebuilding trust was not without setbacks. There were moments when old wounds were reopened and doubts resurfaced. During these times, it was important to revisit our goals and to remind ourselves of the progress we had made. We learned to approach setbacks with patience and to use them as opportunities for growth rather than as reasons to give up. Despite the challenges, we began to see signs of progress. Our interactions became more genuine, and the emotional distance that had once existed started to close. We found ourselves gradually rediscovering the connection that had been lost and developing a deeper understanding of each other. The journey to rebuild trust was ongoing, and we knew that it would take time to fully heal. However, the consistent effort and dedication we both demonstrated began to yield positive results. The process of rebuilding was a testament to our commitment to each other and to the future of our relationship. As we continued to work through the challenges, we remained hopeful about our ability to overcome the difficulties and to build a stronger, more resilient partnership. The road ahead was still uncertain, but our dedication to rebuilding trust and our willingness to confront the issues head-on gave us the strength to face the future together. Months had passed since we first began the process of rebuilding our relationship, and while the journey had been challenging, There were now signs of genuine progress. The efforts Rachel and I had put into therapy, personal growth, and restoring trust were beginning to bear fruit. The process was far from perfect, but it was moving us towards a more hopeful and stable future. One of the most significant indicators of our progress was the gradual shift in our emotional connection. We were no longer just working to fix what had been broken. We were actively creating new, positive experiences together. The small moments of joy and understanding that we shared began to outweigh the shadows of the past. Our time together became more intentional and meaningful. We continued to schedule regular date nights, taking the opportunity to reconnect and focus on each other without distractions. These moments allowed us to rediscover the aspects of our relationship that had initially brought us together. We laughed, talked, and enjoyed each other's company in ways we hadn't in a long time. Another positive development was the improvement in our communication. The skills we had learned in therapy were becoming second nature. We were able to discuss our feelings openly and address any issues before they became major problems. This newfound ability to communicate effectively was a cornerstone of our healing process. The progress in our relationship was not just evident in our interactions, but also in how we managed external pressures. Our social circle and professional lives, though still recovering from the fallout, were starting to stabilize. Friends and colleagues who had once been wary of us were beginning to see our genuine efforts to make amends and move forward. This gradual acceptance was a sign that we were making strides not only within our relationship, but also in our broader social context. Rachel and I also made a conscious effort to celebrate our achievements, no matter how small. We recognized that rebuilding a relationship was a continuous process, and acknowledging our progress helped maintain our motivation and optimism. Whether it was a successful therapy session, a positive interaction with friends, or a shared experience that brought us closer, we made it a point to appreciate these milestones. One evening, as we sat together reflecting on the journey we had been through, Rachel expressed her gratitude for the progress we had made. She acknowledged the pain and difficulties we had faced, but also highlighted the strength and resilience we had demonstrated. Her words were a powerful reminder of how far we had come and the positive changes we had achieved. We also discussed our future together, focusing on our goals and aspirations. We talked about the plans we had for our relationship, our individual growth, and the ways we could continue to support each other. This forward-looking perspective was a crucial part of our healing process, as it allowed us to envision a future beyond the challenges we had faced. While we knew that the road ahead would still have its ups and downs, the progress we had made was a testament to our commitment to each other and to our relationship. We had faced significant adversity and emerged stronger, more connected, and more understanding of one another. The light at the end of the tunnel was not a guarantee of a perfect future, but it was a sign that we were moving in the right direction. Our journey had been one of growth, learning, and renewed commitment. We were both hopeful that, with continued effort and dedication, we could build a future that honored our past struggles and embraced the possibilities ahead. As we looked forward, we were determined to maintain the progress we had made and to continue working towards a relationship that was fulfilling, supportive, and resilient. The path to healing was ongoing, but the strength we had gained from our journey provided a solid foundation for the future. The light at the end of the tunnel was not just an end, but a new beginning for us both. The arrival of spring brought a renewed sense of hope and rejuvenation to our lives. As the days grew longer and the weather warmed, Rachel and I found ourselves embracing a new chapter in our relationship. The challenges we had faced were still a part of our story, but we were now focused on building a future that reflected the lessons we had learned and the growth we had achieved. One of the most significant milestones of this new chapter was our decision to take a vacation together. We had discussed the idea of a getaway as a way to reconnect and create positive memories. After much deliberation, we chose a small coastal town known for its serene beaches and charming atmosphere. It was a chance for us to escape our daily routines and to focus solely on each other. The vacation was a refreshing change from our usual environment. We spent our days exploring the picturesque town, enjoying long walks on the beach and dining at local restaurants. The relaxed pace of life allowed us to fully engage with each other and to appreciate the simple pleasures of being together. It was a time of relaxation and joy, and it reinforced the bond we had been working to rebuild. During our trip, we also took the opportunity to have meaningful conversations about our future. We talked about our goals and aspirations, not only as individuals, but also as a couple. We discussed the ways we could continue to support each other and to nurture our relationship. These conversations were both reassuring and exciting, as they provided a clear vision of the path we wanted to take together. Our vacation was also a time of reflection. As we walked along the beach and watched the sun set over the horizon, we took a moment to appreciate the journey we had been through. The challenges and setbacks had been difficult, but they had also taught us valuable lessons about ourselves and each other. We had emerged from the experience with a deeper understanding of our relationship and a stronger commitment to making it work. Upon returning from our trip, we found ourselves approaching our daily lives with renewed energy and optimism. The vacation had been a positive reinforcement of our progress and a reminder of the joy we could find in each other's company. We continued to build on the foundations we had established in therapy, focusing on maintaining open communication and mutual support. As we settled back into our routines, we also began to explore new ways to strengthen our relationship. We started to engage in joint activities that brought us closer together, such as cooking classes, weekend hikes, and volunteering for local causes. These activities not only provided opportunities for us to connect, but also allowed us to build new experiences and memories. Our journey was far from over, but we were now in a place where we could embrace the future with hope and determination. The challenges of the past had given way to a renewed sense of purpose and a commitment to creating a meaningful and fulfilling life together. We understood that maintaining a healthy relationship required ongoing effort, but we were both willing to invest in that effort. In this new chapter of our lives, we celebrated the progress we had made and looked forward to the possibilities ahead. We were determined to build a relationship that was grounded in trust, respect, and love. The path we had walked had shaped us into a stronger, more resilient couple, and we were ready to face the future with confidence. The journey of rebuilding our relationship had been transformative, and as we moved forward, we carried with us the lessons and experiences that had brought us to this point. The future was uncertain, but we were prepared to embrace it together, with a renewed sense of hope and a commitment to making the most of every moment. As spring blossomed into summer, Rachel and I found ourselves settling into a new rhythm in our relationship. The progress we had made was evident, but we both understood that the work of maintaining and nurturing our bond was an ongoing process. The road ahead was not guaranteed to be smooth, but we were committed to facing it together with optimism and determination. One significant step in our journey was the decision to revisit our long-term goals and aspirations. We had spent so much time focused on addressing the immediate challenges that we realized we needed to also think about the future we wanted to build. We decided to set aside time each month to discuss our dreams and plans, ensuring that we remained aligned in our vision for the future. During one of these conversations, we explored the possibility of starting a family. It was a topic we had previously postponed due to the turmoil we had experienced. Now, with our relationship on a more stable footing, we felt ready to discuss it openly. We shared our thoughts, hopes, and concerns about parenthood, and began to consider how it might fit into our lives. We also began to focus on our individual growth. Rachel was making strides in her career, having rebuilt her professional network and regained her confidence. She was passionate about her work in public speaking and was setting new goals for herself. I, too, was pursuing personal development, taking on new challenges in my own career and focusing on my own well-being. Our commitment to individual growth was crucial for our relationship. We understood that a healthy partnership required both of us to be fulfilled and content in our own lives. By supporting each other's personal goals and celebrating our achievements, we were strengthening the foundation of our relationship. We continued to prioritize our relationship by making time for each other amidst our busy lives. We maintained our regular date nights and continued to engage in activities that brought us closer together. These moments of connection were essential for keeping our bond strong and for nurturing the love that had carried us through our challenges. Additionally, we began to focus on giving back to our community. We volunteered together for local causes and found that contributing to something greater than ourselves brought us a sense of fulfillment and shared purpose. It was a reminder that our relationship was not just about us, but also about the impact we could have on the world around us. As we look to the future, we also acknowledge that challenges would inevitably arise. The process of rebuilding our relationship had taught us the importance of resilience and adaptability. We were prepared to face difficulties with the same dedication and commitment that had helped us overcome our past struggles. We also made a conscious effort to continue practicing the skills we had learned in therapy. Effective communication, empathy, and mutual support remained cornerstones of our relationship. We were committed to maintaining these practices and to addressing any issues that arose with openness and honesty. In this new phase of our lives, we found a renewed sense of hope and excitement. The challenges we had faced had made us stronger and more connected, and we were ready to embrace the future with confidence. The road ahead was filled with possibilities, and we were determined to make the most of every opportunity. As we moved forward, we carried with us the lessons of the past and the strength of our renewed commitment. The future was uncertain, but we faced it together, with a shared vision of a life filled with love, growth, and shared purpose. Our journey had transformed us, and we were ready to continue building a life that reflected the resilience and dedication we had shown to each other. The road ahead was ours to navigate, and with each step, we were creating a future that honored our past and embraced the possibilities of what lay ahead. Together, we were ready to face whatever came our way, confident in the strength of our bond and the love that had carried us through. Just when it seemed like things were falling into place, life threw an unexpected challenge our way. As summer gave way to early fall, Rachel and I encountered a situation that tested the strength of our renewed relationship. It was a reminder that even as we built a solid foundation, unforeseen obstacles could still arise. The test came in the form of a professional opportunity for Rachel. She was offered a prestigious speaking engagement at a major industry conference, a career milestone she had worked hard to achieve. The catch was that the conference was being organized by Mark's new company. It was a situation fraught with emotional and professional complexities. Rachel was torn. On one hand, the opportunity was a significant boost for her career, something she had dreamed of for years. On the other hand, it meant coming into contact with Mark, whose presence was still a sensitive topic for both of us. She discussed the opportunity with me, and we both knew that navigating this situation required careful consideration. We decided to approach the issue with the same openness and honesty that had guided us through our previous challenges. Rachel expressed her concerns about how her participation might affect our relationship and how it might reopen old wounds. I, in turn, shared my own feelings of discomfort and the potential impact it could have on our progress. We decided to seek advice from Dr. Roberts, our therapist, who provided valuable insight into how to handle the situation. Dr. Roberts emphasized the importance of setting clear boundaries and communicating openly with each other. She also suggested that we focus on the aspects of the opportunity that were beneficial for Rachel's career while acknowledging and addressing any emotional concerns. Rachel ultimately decided to take the opportunity, with the understanding that we would continue to address any issues that arose together. She communicated her decision to Mark, ensuring that their interactions remained professional and respectful. Mark, while initially reserved, respected Rachel's boundaries and maintained a professional demeanor throughout the conference. As the conference approached, Rachel and I continued to support each other. We made a concerted effort to focus on the positive aspects of the situation, celebrating Rachel's achievements and acknowledging the progress we had made in our relationship. We also engaged in open discussions about any feelings of insecurity or discomfort that surfaced. The conference itself was a success for Rachel. She delivered a compelling presentation and received positive feedback from her peers. The experience was a validation of her hard work and talent. Despite the initial challenges, Rachel's participation in the event proved to be a significant milestone in her career. In the aftermath of the conference, Rachel and I took time to reflect on the experience. We acknowledged that the situation had tested our commitment and resilience, but it had also reinforced the strength of our relationship. We had navigated the challenge with transparency, support, and mutual respect. The unexpected test served as a reminder that our journey together was ongoing and that new challenges could arise at any time. However, it also highlighted the growth we had achieved and the ways in which we had strengthened our bond. We had faced the test together and emerged with a deeper understanding of each other and our relationship. As we continued to move forward, we remained committed to maintaining the progress we had made. The experience had shown us that, even in the face of unexpected challenges, our relationship was built on a foundation of trust, resilience, and shared values. The road ahead was still filled with uncertainties, but we were confident in our ability to navigate it together. The unexpected test had been a trial, but it had also been an opportunity for growth and reaffirmation of our commitment to each other. With each challenge we faced, we were strengthening the fabric of our relationship and preparing ourselves for whatever lay ahead. Together, we were ready to embrace the future with confidence and optimism. As the leaves turned to gold and autumn settled in, Rachel and I felt a renewed sense of stability in our relationship. We were navigating life with a newfound confidence and mutual respect, bolstered by the progress we had made. Just when we thought the road ahead was clear, life threw us another curveball. An unexpected reunion with an old friend, Sarah. Sarah had been a close friend of ours before the affair. We had lost touch during the turmoil of the past year, but she reached out to us, wanting to reconnect. Her message was filled with warmth and a desire to catch up, and Rachel and I discussed how to handle this rekindled friendship. We decided to meet Sarah for coffee, acknowledging that her return into our lives was both an opportunity and a potential challenge. Sarah had always been a supportive friend, and we were hopeful that rekindling our friendship could be a positive addition to our lives. However, we were also aware that it could bring up old feelings and conversations that we were not yet ready to face. The meeting with Sarah was emotional. She was genuinely concerned about how we had been and expressed her support for our efforts to rebuild our relationship. Rachel and I took the opportunity to explain the situation honestly. We talked about the affair, the impact it had on our lives, and the progress we had made. Sarah listened with empathy and offered her understanding. One of the most difficult parts of the reunion was facing the reality of how our actions had affected those around us. Sarah's perspective provided a fresh view on the situation, and her support reminded us of the importance of acknowledging the impact of our actions on our friends and loved ones. Throughout the conversation, it became clear that Sarah's return was not just about revisiting the past, but also about supporting us as we move forward. She shared her own experiences and challenges, and we found common ground in our personal growth and resilience. The reunion turned into a meaningful exchange of support and understanding. As we reconnected with Sarah, we made a conscious effort to set boundaries and to ensure that our renewed friendship did not distract us from the work we still needed to do in our relationship. We wanted to embrace the positive aspects of having her back in our lives while remaining focused on our ongoing journey together. The reunion also brought to light some unresolved feelings and conversations that we needed to address. Sarah's return reminded us of the importance of confronting and processing the past rather than avoiding it. We used this opportunity to reflect on our growth and to discuss any lingering emotions that might affect our relationship. As we move forward with Sarah back in our lives, we maintained a balanced approach. We continued to prioritize our relationship by setting aside time for each other and focusing on our goals. We also made sure to communicate openly about any concerns or feelings that arose from reconnecting with Sarah. The unexpected reunion with Sarah was a reminder of the complexities of relationships and the ways in which the past can intersect with the present. It challenged us to remain resilient and adaptable as we navigated the evolving dynamics of our lives. The experience underscored the importance of maintaining balance and addressing issues directly. In the end, the reunion with Sarah became a testament to our growth and our ability to handle the surprises life threw our way. It reinforced the idea that even as we worked to rebuild our relationship, we could still embrace the positive aspects of our past while staying focused on our future. As autumn deepened and the year drew to a close, Rachel and I reflected on the journey we had undertaken. The challenges, the reunions, and the progress we had made all contributed to a richer, more resilient partnership. We faced the future with a renewed sense of hope and a commitment to continuing our journey together, embracing each moment with gratitude and optimism. As the year drew to a close, Rachel and I found ourselves at a crossroads, reflecting on the journey we had taken and looking forward to the future. The past months had been filled with challenges, growth, and moments of profound insight. We had faced numerous tests and obstacles, but we had emerged stronger and more connected. One of the key aspects of this final chapter in our story was the realization that our relationship had evolved significantly. The issues that once seemed insurmountable had become part of our shared history, and we had learned to navigate them with grace and understanding. Our relationship was no longer defined solely by the past. It was shaped by the progress we had made and the future we were building together. Rachel and I took time during the holiday season to reflect on our achievements and to set new goals for the coming year. We reviewed the milestones we had reached, both individually and as a couple. We acknowledged the hard work and dedication that had gone into rebuilding our relationship and expressed gratitude for the support we had received from each other and our loved ones. As part of our reflection, we also looked at the lessons we had learned throughout our journey. One of the most important realizations was the value of resilience and adaptability. We had faced unexpected challenges and had learned to approach them with a sense of purpose and a commitment to each other. This resilience had become a cornerstone of our relationship. With the new year approaching, Rachel and I set aside time to discuss our aspirations and dreams. We talked about our personal goals, our plans for our relationship, and the ways we wanted to continue growing together. It was a time of excitement and anticipation as we envisioned the possibilities that lay ahead. One of the decisions we made was to focus on enhancing our communication skills and deepening our emotional connection. We recognized that while we had made significant progress, there was always room for growth. We committed to continuing our practice of open and honest communication and to supporting each other's personal development. We also planned to celebrate our journey by creating new traditions and experiences. We looked forward to traveling, exploring new interests, and spending quality time together. These new experiences would not only enrich our relationship, but also provide us with opportunities to create lasting memories. As the new year began, Rachel and I embraced the future with optimism and excitement. We understood that our journey was ongoing and that challenges would continue to arise. However, we were confident in our ability to face them together, armed with the lessons and strengths we had gained. We also made a point to express our appreciation for each other regularly. Small gestures of love and gratitude became an integral part of our daily lives. Whether it was through heartfelt notes, thoughtful actions, or simply spending quality time together, we reinforced the bond that had been so carefully rebuilt. Looking ahead, we were committed to maintaining the progress we had made and to continuing our journey of growth and discovery. The future was filled with possibilities, and we were excited to explore it together. Our relationship was no longer defined by past mistakes, but by the strength and resilience we had developed. As we entered the new year, Rachel and I felt a renewed sense of purpose and joy. We were ready to embrace the future with open hearts and a shared commitment to creating a fulfilling and meaningful life together. The road ahead was ours to navigate, and with each step, we were building a future that honored our past and celebrated the possibilities of what lay ahead. Together, we faced the future with confidence, knowing that our journey had transformed us and that we were prepared to meet whatever came our way. The story of our relationship was one of growth, resilience, and love, a testament to the strength of our bond and the enduring commitment we had to each other. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos.